What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Rippin' Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Multiverse broadcasting system initiated. Multiverse connection established.
Hello.
Multiverse connection secure.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is my life DIY and
Hi, this is Jojo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation, don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to continue to carry on our series called The State of Mystery. That's right, we're going to be going over all the paranormal stories that we can find for the state of Delaware. It's quite a tiny state with a whole lot of crazy going on, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get to all that and more here in just a moment, but first, today in history. On this day in 1956, Elvis Presley reaches #1 in the charts for 2 separate songs, both the song Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel, that's right. Both actually amazing songs, and everybody knows being a Tennessean, I've got a little soft spot in my heart for Elvis. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, and that is today. Today in history. And could you imagine that? Anymore it takes an artist everything they can do to get one song to #1 on the Billboard chart. But that man just put 2 songs at #1 on the same day. You can't beat that. That is really, really cool. And speaking of really, really cool, that brings us to our next segment.
Say what?
When looking for a quote today, I found Delaware's motto, and I gotta say, this right here is really reflective for a lot of people, ladies and gentlemen. Their motto is, and I quote, "A past to honor, a future to ensure." End quote. Those that know. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. A past to honor and a future to ensure. That sounds strikingly similar to circumstances that are going on all around us in this day and age. And that is today's segment of
Say What?
And to ensure our future, we must always remember and know our past. And through the past years, there's been a number of different cryptid creatures in Delaware. One of them, actually a very, very popular cryptid creature. Has
How long?
And of course, the Native American legends are always intriguing when it comes to cryptids, because I don't know about you guys, but I depend on them a lot more than nowadays sightings. How about you guys?
Anything involving Native Americans, we're talking since before, of course, the West was conquered here in the U.S. So this is something that's just been passed down throughout that time period. Not just here in the United States, but also apparently in Canada. And then if you go to the Great Lakes region, you'll also find various versions or various legends associated with this very unique cryptid. And what makes it unique is this. So there's tales involving it being good, and then also involving it being bad. So when I was reading all this information, it kind of made me wonder how close these things are to people, like in this case to human beings, because obviously if you take like 100 people and you start looking at them individually, you will find some of them are pretty good people, and then others are bad people, such as the case here with this Pukwudgie.
And I relate that more to like dogs and cats, how each one has their own individual personality. There are some dogs that are bad and some that are good, just like it seems like with any creature, right?
But as far as its physical characteristics, let's talk about that first. So this thing, just like I mentioned with regards to my last video involving the mysterious gnomes of Wellerton Park, these things are very tiny as well. In fact, they're only going to be about knee-high at most, and they're known to be even smaller than that on average. So tiny, in this case, cryptids. If you run into them, you probably will literally run into them if you're out there in their region.
So smaller cryptid and a smaller state. Now, that's an interesting find. We haven't had a whole lot of small cryptids in this series so far.
Yes, they're tiny people. They're, for all intents and purposes, they tend to be considered older folks. Like they have the skin associated with them. That kind of gives them like an older folk. Again, kind of tied to the notion of something involving gnomes as well. But everything else seems to be pretty standard. Like they have this gray face, they have larger ears, like also involving gnomes, like pretty standard when it comes to them. And then also they have these exaggerated hands, like larger hands than usual when it comes to, let's say, their size. The ears that I was mentioning earlier, and then the feet as well. So stuff like this definitely stands out when you see these Pukwudgies, because not only because of their stature, but some of their exaggerated features too. Interestingly enough, they also seem to emit a smell. So if you happen to be in a forest area, which is their known habitats, and you smell what's considered a sweet smell, especially with regards to flowers, and then knowing that, of course, that there's no flowers around, then you do have a chance of running into these Pukwudgies.
Normally, when you hear about a smell from a cryptid, it's a bad smell. In this particular case, it happens to be a good smell, flowers of all things. So if you're in a flowered area or a non-flowered area and you start smelling flowers, it just may be the Pukwudgie you are near.
That ties into their locations. Yes, you would have to go into forest areas, northeastern United States, southeastern Canada, the Great Lakes region, like I was mentioning earlier. Go into any of those forests, and that's where you would find these things. Ties into, again, gnomes, like enchanted forest type stuff, where those are the main habitats of these creatures. And the way they were talked about all these various tribes is the people that went there to the forest respected these Pukwudgies because they knew they were there, and the Pukwudgies and vice versa knew that the humans were there too. But it was all about respecting their boundaries. They didn't do anything to necessarily piss these cryptids off. It was all about ensuring that they had like a friendly stance between each other. This is important because of this. As far as their actual characteristics, not physical, but in this case the way that they acted, I talked about that earlier, most of them were good. They were considered good-natured creatures. They were there to help humans in some cases, like if there was humans that were getting lost in the forest, they would direct them to the right areas, or if there were like humans that were in a dangerous situation, they would try to do so as well, as long as, again, they were treated with respect. It was almost like, I'm not here to cause any bad harm, but at the same time, I'm not going to let you walk over me. That's the kind of attitude that these creatures had, that these Pukwudgies had there.
I don't know about you guys, but I think we could use a Pukwudgie attitude in this day and age.
Conversely, there are other tribes from Native American tribes that talked about them being bad, very dangerous, in fact. They were there to truly cause harm to people, even in some cases death. And the way it occurred was this. These Pukwudgies are known to disappear and reappear at will, so much so that they almost could be considered spirits of the forest. That's how various Native Americans apparently considered them. So they could appear out of thin air and then disappear as is. Now, the notion whether they truly disappeared, like let's say completely, is one side. The other side is this: they simply turned invisible. Like they're still there, you could probably still touch them, and they had a physical presence, but they were just invisible, or they learned how to be invisible.
And for those who haven't heard me say it before, that is my thoughts on the Bigfoot. Is the reason they tend to disappear all of a sudden is that they literally just have a way of becoming invisible to the human eye and haven't actually went anywhere.
And then there's the other side, like I mentioned, where they just completely just disappeared and reappeared elsewhere.
So what do you guys think? Do you think they're actually invisible and still there, or do you think perhaps they're teleporting and could be anywhere? Go ahead, put a 1 in the chat room if you think they're just turning invisible. Put a 2 in the chat room if you think they're teleporting, and go ahead and put a 3 in the chat room if you're unsure either way.
Either way, though, they would use that ability, that set of quote-unquote magical powers, because some Native American tribes considered them that, as being able to play these very bad tricks on people, especially those that pissed them off, those that disrespected them. They would confuse people. They would get them lost. Imagine, again, being in a forest, and I talked about this one of my past cryptids. I can't remember which one it was that would do this as well. But imagine that you're there, lost, and you have some hope. Maybe if you follow a river, because the idea is if you follow a river, it'll eventually lead to civilization. But there these things were, making sure that no matter where you went, following the river, you still ended up hopelessly lost in the forest. You would die a very slow death. You would die of starvation, and then finally, combined with dehydration, it would just be a very, very slow death. And they would do this because either they felt, again, they were harmed, or they just felt like just doing it. Like they was them. They were just bad at that point. In some cases, Pukwudgies were considered enemies of many of the tribes that were there because they were responsible for the death of so many Native Americans that wandered into those forests. So that's how bad things got when it comes to these creatures.
You know what woodland creature this reminds me of is the leprechaun, having the trickery and both good and bad, and being a shorter person. Perhaps this is the Delaware version of the leprechaun, right? Let's see what you guys said over there a moment ago about whether you think it's the invisible or if they're actually teleporting. And we got Sandy B says cloaking. And then she says 333, so unsure about that. Champion Sports Nation says 3.4. He's more than sure that he don't know. Terry Taggart with a 3. My Life DIY talking about VIP, so that's... Then we got Michael Fontaine says 1 in 3 thinks they're invisible but not entirely sure. And Heather with the 2, or I'm sorry, My Life with the 2 over there. And Earth Daughter with a 2 or 3. So possibly teleporting but not sure. Terry Taggart says, I think it is both. And then same as JJ, My Life says multi-dimensional or interdimensional. Could be. Very well could be interdimensional. I didn't even think about that. JJ says, I'm so happy for My Life and the other rabbits for the amazing recommendations. Yes, they're over there talking about another singer over there. But 2s and 3s in the chat room. Not what I expected, honestly.
And on top of that, too, there's this other notion, the fact that these things can actually shapeshift as well. I didn't really read too much info on that, but again, that's another angle. They could shapeshift into other creatures that were within the forest, and in some cases, actual creatures that are very dangerous, like cougars or lions, mountain lions, bears, other types of creatures that could truly just harm people just as is. So who knows, maybe if you're in a forest and all of a sudden something just appears, like in this case a cougar, you may just have wandered into the realm of these Pukwudgies and it has shapeshifted into a very dangerous creature.
I don't remember whether or not the leprechaun actually shape-shifted or not, but shape-shifting is definitely something we've seen in a couple different cryptids on the list so far.
And then following that theme involving these things being pretty bad to humans, some of them can just cause ill will or harm just by staring at people. That scared me the most when I was reading this information, because you've probably never had a chance, never seen this cryptid out there in the forest. You've inadvertently entered its location, and it is going to get you. And the way it gets you is just staring at you from far away. You probably get that sense, like where you have, that creepy feeling on the back of your neck, like you feel somebody's staring at you. You just can't picture what it is or can't find it. But it could be one of these things, these pukwudgies, just basically staring at you and then causing you ill harm. The way I was reading it was almost like a curse, like a silent curse that just comes across to you somewhere along the way in the air, and it's able to hit you, and then it'll cause severe harm. So that's pretty scary stuff when you're dealing with these unique creatures. But otherwise, for the most part, if you run into the good ones, they're just considered good. As long as you leave them alone or treat them with respect, and you're fine. And every now and then they may do just little tricks to you, like probably launch a whistle here and there to try to distract you, but that's it. Nothing really else bad associated with them. Now, as far as how this is tied to, in this case, a movie franchise,
would anyone like to go ahead and garner a guess as to what the movie franchise it is that the pukwudgie is tied to?
It's Harry Potter, the Harry Potter universe.
Go ahead and put in the chat what character from Harry Potter that you think was modeled after the pukwudgie.
Admittedly, I've never been involved with the Harry Potter world, never seen any of the movies, never read any of the books. It's just one of those things that I'm sure it interests a lot of other people, clearly, considering how much money it's made, but it's just never really interested me. Really interested me. It's just one of those things that I'm sure it interests.
See, the thing about us DJs and talk show hosts, we kind of forget when to hit the mute button and when not to. Happens from time to time. Again, my apologies over there to Mandani Mall. I did totally forget to mention his answer earlier. But he put a 4 in the chat room for that last question, even though I didn't exactly have an answer for 4, so I don't even know what to follow it up on. There we go. I see the laughing in the chat now. But let me ask you guys, do you have any idea what the Harry Potter creature it could be? There is a creature from the Harry Potter movies that the pukwudgie is made after. Any ideas whatsoever? Real quick shout out to Champion Sports Nation, Terry Taggart, Earth Daughter, My Life DIY, Sandy B, and JJ over in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat, Mandani Mall and Deranged Lunatic, aka DL, over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat. So shout out to all you guys, and it doesn't really look like we're getting many answers here, so let's see which animal or which creature it was from Harry Potter that was the pukwudgie.
So in this case, in the world of Harry Potter, some of you might know this stuff and others not, but J.K. Rowling actually placed these creatures in the universe. In fact, they seem to be involved with some kind of school. Like I think they have a crest or some kind of icon or image associated with them. And in fact, she describes the creatures in one of the I guess texts or something, and this is as follows. The pukwudgie is a native to America, short, gray-faced, large-eared creature distantly related to the European goblin. Fiercely independent, tricky, and not overfond of humankind, it possesses its own powerful magic, and Pukwudgies hunt with deadly poisonous arrows and enjoy playing tricks.
So apparently it is the symbolic creature of the Ilvermorny school of witchcraft in America. And like J.K. Rowling said, it is more closely related to the goblin. I said leprechaun earlier, but I would agree that goblin's a lot more closer relation. So if you said the goblin or the Ilvermorny crest creature, you are absolutely correct.
Forgot to mention that too, about another characteristic about these Pukwudgies. Another way they can cause harm is they launch these poison arrows that hit people. So if you're hit with one of those, then you too will die a slow death, because poison is one of the worst ways to go when it comes to being harmed. Not only that, but they can also launch these arrows to create fire. So not only are you lost, but now in this case you're getting hit with fire, or fire is created around you, and you're going to suffocate to death, if not being burned to death outright. So
these creatures here seem to be a lot more human-like and a lot less creature-like, if that makes any sense, right? But they seem to have like consciousness and common sense and actually making higher logical decisions. It's really interesting, almost like goblins, but with a couple extra features. A goblin mixed with a porcupine, right?
J.K. Rowling seems to go with that notion that these things are more on the dangerous side. So those of you that have seen the Harry Potter movies, point it out to me, please, if you've seen them, like if they have a big part in the films, or if it's just a tiny cameo, if you could call it. That'd be great to hear too. So, but yes, as far as them being involved in the $1 billion franchise, absolutely, Pukwudgies are associated with the Harry Potter world. And again, I can't really think of any other cryptid that has its actual like name and characteristics tied to that type of franchise, huge franchise. So.
And I second that. I don't know of any other franchise, big movie franchise, that has really picked up on a real deal cryptid. I mean, we've had movies about the Mothman and a couple different things, but The Legend of Boggy Creek, I think, was one of them. But nothing like this where it wasn't about the creature. They're just a cameo character, if you will, in another major series. And I actually found one more little cryptid story here out of Delaware. The Zwanindale Mermaid, which bears little resemblance to the classic image of the aquatic beings as attractive women with fish traits. This has a wide, toothy mouth and large, ridged eye sockets that dominate its face. Its hands are clawed like a reptile's. Its torso covered in bony ridges. Its skin and scales are an ashy gray-black. On top of all that, the creature is small, no more than a foot or so in length. It bears a much closer resemblance to his cousin, the Fiji mermaid, made famous by P.T. Barnum. Both creatures are, of course, clever taxidermy specimens akin to jackalopes, Jenny Heniers, and fur-bearing trouts. They are also part of a larger tradition of taxidermied monsters that have their roots in 18th century Japan. So this particular site is calling it a hoax. However, if you'd like to see it for yourself, it is in a museum permanently, the way I understand, in Zwannendale, I think, somewhere in Delaware anyway. It is in a museum. The Zwannendale Museum, yes, modeled after the town hall in the Netherlands. Apparently it's in a blue velvet-lined glass case and was given to the prominent Martin family in the city of Luz, built on the site of the vanished Dutch colony, by a sea captain. In 1941, the mummy was permanently lent to the museum until 1985, when locals bought the creature from the Martins' estate to ensure that it remained a permanent fixture in the museum. So there we go. We've got the little creature, the Pukwudgies, that are something like a leprechaun or a troll or a goblin, or a cross of all these different weird little mini creatures, as well as a mermaid. And that's going to do it for the cryptids of Delaware tonight, ladies and gentlemen. These smaller states are definitely a little bit harder to find stuff for, mainly because there's just not as much area for stuff to happen in, right? But hopefully we'll be out of the smaller states soon, back into a bigger state that's got a lot more cryptids to choose from. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like the clock is about got us here, so we're going to go ahead and take a network break. There is a lot more rabbit hole to explore in the state of mystery of Delaware. I'm Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the DarkWolf's Den Show, exclusively on Ripin Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripin Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, that howl means your weekend has officially begun. Hi everyone, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's DarkWolf's Den State of Mystery for Delaware? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Ripin' Rabbit Hole. Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show will return again tomorrow night, Wednesday, August 19th. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Come along with him and howl at the Ethereum Society. It's going to be an interesting night for sure. Then I'll return on Friday, August 20th, with a look at blame. Very important topic for 2021 in today's day and age. Friday night, blame starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. And then Saturday, we're going to follow up blame with guilt. That's right. Guilt on Saturday, August 21st. And then we'll end out the weekend right together with you Sunday, August 22nd, with pride. You can't have blame and guilt without pride, right? And I'm talking about the kind of pride that goes before the fall. And it's going to be a great way to end out the weekend right together with you. If you haven't done so already, please make the jump on over to ripinrabbithole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. There you can sign up for our exclusive backstage 24/7 VIP pass. It's going to give you unfiltered access down the rabbit hole to where the conversation continues at ripinrabbithole.com. It's absolutely free to sign up for, and it always will be. But it's going to keep you up to date with some of the things that are going to be coming in September. I'm really excited to let you know we are working on some things, both Jerry and I, that are absolutely mind-bending and mind-blowing. And we hope to be releasing it to you in September. So if you haven't done so already, please sign up for that backstage pass. You're going to get our additional notifications ahead of time. You're going to be able to be prepared for some of the things that are coming your way. And I can tell you, it's a lot of fun. I'm so glad extended weekends are back. It makes that work week fly by so quickly. Before you know it, Wednesday is here. Before you know it, September will be here. Oh my goodness. We'll return to tonight's Darkwolf's Den Radio Show, State of Mystery, Delaware, for August 18th, 2021. You're listening to the Ripin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripin' Rabbit Hole.
Reestablishing multiverse connection. Connection reestablished and secure.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripin' Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are discovering the state of mystery, Delaware. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We went over the Pukwudgie in the first half, as well as a mermaid creature that may or may not have been real from the 1900s. That's right. And now we're going to go into the other half of the show, where normally we do UFOs and then ghosts. I could not find a lot of UFO stories. However, what I was able to find was quite a few ghost stories of Delaware. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. So it's just going to be cryptids and ghosts for this episode. And speaking of ghosts, let's get started.
The John Dickinson House. The John Dickinson House in Dover, also known as the Poplar House, was built in 1740 by Judge Samuel Dickinson, father of the renowned writer John Dickinson.
And remember, Delaware, as well as a variety of the northeastern states, were original colonies of the USA, so there's a large amount of history there, of course.
The original house was damaged in a British raid in 1781, and furthermore in a fire in 1804. Since John's passing in 1808, visitors started reporting a wide range of paranormal activity, making it the perfect place to start off this countdown. This activity includes objects being moved in the middle of the night, drawers and cabinets found open, and the distinct sound of a pen scribbling on paper, accompanied by faint muttering coming from the study. This is believed to be the ghost of the penman of the Revolution himself, Mr. John Dickinson, who has also been sighted rounding corners and in passing throughout the house and on the grounds.
This is something else we've seen come up quite a bit in these stories, is people that either lived there or owned the buildings, like the hotel owner in the one, coming back to continually care for their property. And of course, in a lot of ghost stories, that's exactly what we find the case to be.
Lum's Pond State Park. Lum's Pond State Park in Bear spans 1,790 acres and opened in 1963. It's the largest freshwater pond in Delaware, and it's also rumored to be one of the most haunted. Staff and visitors report activity mainly after dark, including orbs floating throughout the treetops, dark shadow-like figures that stalk campers and hikers, and extreme cold spots even on hot summer nights. As local legend goes, a woman was raped and murdered near the pond. It's said her soul remains, and many have reported ghostly screams, crying, and even splashing sounds in the middle of the night. Those who have actually seen her full-bodied apparition report she appears as a woman in a white gown, with extremely pale skin and an unnatural look about her.
And that's another trope that we find quite often in ghost stories, is the lady in white, of course. And another interesting thing about this case is it has all the hallmarks for a haunting, right? A traumatic incident that led to a death, and the person haunts the place for the rest of their eternity, or their time as a ghost anyway. Pending what you believe, but that's pretty much what we have here, is a case of a lady in white, and we're going to find more and more of these as we go on.
Newcastle Courthouse Museum. Newcastle Courthouse Museum in Newcastle has a long and fascinating history. The oldest building was constructed in 1687, but later destroyed by a fire in 1729. It was rebuilt a year later in 1730 and served as the state capitol until 1777. It was reopened to the public much later in 1963 as a museum. Many reports of ghostly activity have sprouted up throughout the years, including extreme cold spots, doors slamming loudly on their own, and faces popping up behind any who glance in mirrors or reflections.
And there's something that we don't hear a whole lot in these haunting cases, is something popping up in the mirror behind the person.
The most famous apparition here is that of a tall, dark figure with glowing eyes. Not much is known about who or what this thing is, but it is known to appear after dark, with many reporting seeing it through windows, seemingly staring into their souls.
So this may very well be a dark entity in this haunting, or perhaps there's multiple entities, right? There's nothing to rule that out either. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it's one dark entity or a couple entities that are haunting this area, dark and light? Go ahead and put a 1 if you think it's dark and light entities, multiples. And go ahead and put a 2 if you think it's dark entities. And go ahead and put a 3 if you aren't really sure if it could be both or either one.
The University of Delaware. The University of Delaware in Newark was founded in 1743 and is one of the oldest universities in the nation, as well as the largest university in Delaware. As local legend has it, it's haunted by Elmo, the ghost of a workman who died while building the dome of Mitchell Hall. His spirit makes common appearances, bringing with it a trail of cold air, the sounds of disembodied laughter, and electronic malfunctions. Many have reported hearing voices here as well, and objects have been known to move on their own. The spirits of at least 2 children have been seen in the balcony theater, and have even tried to communicate with unsuspecting passerbys. Lastly, all across campus, reports have sprouted up depicting a tall, dark apparition in a trench coat that hovers just above the ground.
Well, this is unquestionably a multitude of ghostly appearances, but let's see what you guys said over there in the chat. And My Life DIY says 1, she believes it's many ghosts, as well as Waters Alive. Welcome to the show, Waters. Terry Taggart says 3, I would have to use my own discernment like everyone else here. And we do hope that you use discernment for sure. And Sandy B says, in Delaware, there's a thing called Frightland Haunted Attractions. 8 unique haunted attractions. 4 of them are actually indoors. Well, I appreciate you letting us know that, Sandy B. And she also follows up with the 1 saying it is many. And then we have over here in the DarkWolf's Den Show YouTube chat. That's right, we've got 2 channels going tonight, ladies and gentlemen, as we will be from here out. Shout out to XGen over there. It says, evening, fellow travelers. Evening, XGen. JJ says 1. He believes it's many. Earth Daughter, 1 or 3. Not entirely sure. Michael Fontaine says 3, not entirely sure. And quick shout out, Michael Fontaine said his birthday was 9 days ago, so apparently we missed that. Happy birthday, Michael Fontaine. But yeah, there's a lot of 1s and 3s here. Not the spread, once again, that I actually expected to get, but just as well happy to see it.
Old Maggie's Bridge. Old Maggie's Bridge in Seaford is located on a small, curved stretch of back road bordering the Nanticoke River. It's said that a young woman by the name of Maggie Bloxam was killed here. Some say by horse accident, others car accident, and some even say it was cold-blooded murder. All renditions of the story end the same way, in her decapitation. It is also said that she was pregnant at the time, and if you visit this horrifying haunt after dark and yell the words, "Maggie, I've got your baby," it will call her spirit to you.
I don't know about you guys, but that sounds immensely creepy to me. That's one weird way to call a spirit, right?
She appears in the form of a headless, translucent, and rotting body floating through the air, and has been known to get very aggressive at times. Many have also reported her spectral head, moaning and shrieking terrifyingly as it flies after any who cross its path. Also reported here are figures moving along either side of the bridge at night, orbs and photographs, and the feeling of fear.
You know, in that story, I think I would have almost been let down if the decapitated head wasn't part of the haunting, right? But a floating head as well as a body that is seen in a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Broken down form, if you will. That sounds like an incredibly creepy ghost story. How about you guys?
Cooch's Bridge. Cooch's Bridge in Newark was built in 1726 and later in 1777 was the site of the Battle of Cooch's Bridge. The first bridge did not survive the American Revolution, with the current bridge being constructed near the original site.
And I have mentioned before that we lived near a battlefield for years, and actually I'm not very far away from that battlefield again here in Tennessee. And I can tell you I have had a slew of ghost reports from these battlefields.
This battle was the only battle of the American Revolution fought in Delaware, and it was also the first time the American flag was flown in battle.
You gotta admit that's pretty cool. The first time that the American flag was actually flown in battle was this battle.
Those brave enough to visit this cursed crossing, especially after dark, report an absolutely terrifying apparition, a headless soldier most often seen in the middle of the bridge. He has been known to appear on foggy and moonless nights, and it's said that his head was taken off by a stray cannonball. Legend claims that this soldier actually saved George Washington's life during battle. Also reported on and around the bridge are orbs and photographs, the smell of gunpowder, and the phantom sounds of a war long lost to history.
And once again, I can tell you that most of the the stories that I get from the battlefields here locally are of the war going on in a unseen realm, if you will, the repetitions of the sounds of war, yet there's no one to be found or seen.
Cape Henlopen State Park. Cape Henlopen State Park in Lewis was dedicated and opened for the enjoyment of the people by William Penn in 1682, becoming an official Delaware state park in 1964.
Does anybody know, for bonus points, what was named after William Penn?
Many who have entered the park have reported a wide range of supernatural activity, including orbs in trees, disembodied screams, a strange growling noise from the bushes, and a ghostly light that is often seen bobbing along the beach. An old World War II bunker and observation tower is still visible, and the most famous ghost here is said to appear all around and on the inside of it. He's described as tall, shadowy, and donning an old, tattered uniform. This specter likes to pop up in mirrors, peer through windows, and has even been sighted stalking the campus grounds. If you visit this haunt searching for this mysterious apparition and don't end up running across him, you may want to check all of the photos you took throughout the day, as our ghostly soldier is said to enjoy posing for the occasional snapshot.
It seems like the Delaware ghosts seem to be quite photogenic, especially when it comes to the orbs, and that's a phenomenon I've always been a little bit torn on, is the orb phenomenon. Perhaps we'll do a show about that sometime soon. You guys like that? Let's see what you guys said is named after William Penn here in the chat. Champion Sports Nation says, too easy. Well, if it's too easy, that's the only answer I see. And then after that, Mandani Mall says, Pennsylvania. That's right, Pennsylvania, named after William Penn. That's right. Found that kind of interesting. He came up in the story, of course, so I just kind of had to include that for you guys.
The Hagley Museum and Library. The Hagley Museum and Library in Wilmington opened in 1957 and was the site of the gunpowder works founded by E.I. DuPont in 1802. It plays home to a restored mill, workers' community, and even the original DuPont home. As local legend has it, the area is a mecca for the paranormal, with visitors and staff reporting orbs in nearly every photograph, shady apparitions with glowing eyes looking through windows at night, unexplainable electrical malfunctions, and disturbing voices popping up in the background of various recordings. Though several full-bodied apparitions have been sighted here, the most commonly seen is that of a woman in a white dress and bonnet. Not much is known about who she was in life, and she's been known to appear as either a faint mist floating with direction or as a full-bodied apparition looking surprisingly solid.
And yet we have another woman in white story here, but what is really interesting is twice tonight we've had the electronics messing up in these stories, and that's something we haven't mentioned a whole lot when talking about the ghost stories on this channel, is the electronic problems that occur when ghosts happen to be in the area, and we've heard quite a bit of those in tonight's episode.
For whatever reason, her spirit is said to instill an extreme feeling of calm and peace. She is also known for appearing to children who are lost or by themselves, and has even guided several back to their parents.
See, that's what we need. We need a lot more friendly ghosts and a lot less unfriendly ghosts that are throwing stuff around, right? More ghosts leading children to parents and less ghosts throwing knives across the room.
The Delaware Governor's Mansion. The Delaware Governor's Mansion, also known as Woodburn in Dover, was constructed in 1790 by Charles Hilliard III. It served in the Underground Railroad for a period of time, and it's believed that several slavers attempting to raid the homestead were killed on its grounds. The land belonged previously to David Morgan and his family for nearly a century, granted to them by the Swedish crown. And even further before that, there were remnants of native artifacts found all throughout the area. Reports of hauntings date all the way back to the 1800s, when a guest reported passing a man on the stairs dressed in a style from half a century prior. It's now speculated that this may have been the ghost of the father of Charles Hilliard, and it's rumored he isn't the only apparition here. One of the slaver raiders that attempted the assault on the mansion is said to have slipped and become tangled in the tree out front, hanging there until dead. His spirit can still be seen, especially on foggy nights, hollering for help to any who will listen. Several owners have reported finding wine and liquor decanters empty every morning, and it's said that several have even caught the apparition of a man in a white wig pouring glasses for himself from the other side. Also reported are extreme cold spots, disembodied footsteps on the stairs, and a strange glow seemingly floating through the halls. Lastly, a pleasant ghost in a Revolutionary War uniform has been sighted on several occasions, even chatting with the guests, and the ghost of a little girl in a red checkered dress has been seen playing by the garden pool.
I don't know if it's you guys, but I've never heard of a ghost that actually drinks liquor from this side. I think they may have had a thief more than a ghost. What about you guys? But you can't discount the other ghost stories in that mansion, right? But what do you guys think? We've heard about cryptids and ghosts tonight in Delaware. Do you guys think Delaware is a true state of mystery, or are we once again barking up the wrong tree? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Darkwolf's Den Show for Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, Thursday, August 19th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for a brand new episode of the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show. That's right. We're going to be talking about the Ethereum Society. You guys have heard of UFO cults, and this is one of the most popular one in the world. And we're going to be covering that tomorrow, Thursday, August 19th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All episodes start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio, including the episodes of our network partner, Mr. AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, who will be returning to the airwaves on Friday for an all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. On Friday, he's going to be talking, Friday, August 20th, 2021, he's going to be talking about blame. That's right. We should be careful where we place blame, right? It's not always the fault that it originally seems to be. And perhaps we are wrongly blamed in our lives for things also. Maybe we'll find ways to get around this false blaming issue that everybody seems to have. Or maybe we would find out where the blame actually needs to be placed. I know where I place a lot of blame for the craziness in this country right now. And that is going to be the blame episode on Friday, August 20th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Saturday, August 21st, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit will be back with an all-new episode. This time he's going to be talking about guilt, something we all feel, and perhaps this is another part of his emotions series, right? We all know about guilt, whether we're giving it or receiving it. No one likes it. But when are you guilty and when are you not, right? I'm sure AJ will be going over all that and more on Saturday, August 21st, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network. Then on Sunday, August 22nd, 2021, can you guys believe it? I got all the dates right this time. August 22nd, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ returns to the airwaves one more time to talk about pride. Pride can be just as good a thing as it can be bad, right? Having pride in your country is a good thing. Having too much pride in your relationship may not be all that great, right? AJ will be talking about all that and more on Sunday, August 22nd, 2021, right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network. And that's going to round out the weekend here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio. And if you can't get enough of us guys, you know, we are off Monday and Tuesday. However, you can always go over to the ripinrabbithole.com. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find a slew of fun things. Number one, you can go back in the archives and watch any show that we have done here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio. All the Dark Wolf Dens, all of the Rippin' Rabbit Holes, all the shows are available anytime on demand. So make sure you go over there and check those shows out. Also, our Listen Live page, and make sure you keep up with the episodes that are happening and coming up all week long, as well as the Down the Rabbit Hole section. That is our exclusive social media section of our website. Make sure you drop down there. If you got any information you'd like to share with the rabbits, that's the place to put it. And once again, this is open social media. It's not controlled by those censorship boys. You guys know what I'm talking about. And also, while you're over there, we've got one more thing that I would like you to go check out, and that is the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. That's right. That is my favorite hangout, where I'm going to go here in just a couple minutes right after the show, and I hope to see every last one of you guys there. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everybody involved with Rippin' Common Sense Radio, as well as Tom Bayless and Red Shed Studios. Get down with it, Tom. God, I love that music. If you guys are looking for a custom music for your sound, or a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure that you contact Red Shed Studios and Mr. Tom Bayless. Links down in the description below. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. This is the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show, exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. And we will be back tomorrow night to hang out with you guys one more time. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, remember, stay awake, but dare to dream. That's right. How yeah. Good night, everybody.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the grass is green, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in the just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a